I'm going to paint this picture in Procreate. Hi everyone, Steve Elliott here again. Today I'm working on a commission for somebody. The brief for this commission was I want something that looks like an old vaudeville poster with writing and a picture. The size of this piece will be 222 centimeters by 142 centimeters. So that's big. It's 2 meters long by nearly a meter and a half deep. It needs to say "Pleasure's a sin," Lord Byron, and it needs to be a bit naughty. So that's the information I got, and this is what I came up with. First thing is, you will notice there is text on this picture. So that text I produced in Affinity Designer. So I've already done a video on that. I'll put a link in the comments below so you can have a look at that if you want. And then I went into my normal style of painting. I put the text on the top layer, and then I used the grunge brush to get the colours that I wanted for the background. I wanted something that would look a bit Victorian and old and worn. So I use a lot of effects to sort of distress the lettering a bit later on. But I start off painting a curtain behind the lettering, or a sway of cloth, and I paint a cupid. And the cupid is holding the lettering up. Now, I did think after a while that the cupid's head is way too small, because it looks like almost a young boy rather than a baby, or an adult even. So I did make the heads a little bit bigger later on. I kept looking at them thinking there's something not right with these cupids. There's something not right, and I did sort it out later. Anyway, I want to say that what I start with is a very loose painting. I get in all of the elements, like the cupids and the curtains and everything, in a very, very loose style to start with, so nothing looks finished. And I sent that to the customer just to okay it and to find out that I was working on the right lines and they were happy with what I was doing. She loved the cupids, because in actual fact the place where this painting is going to be hanging, she's got quite a few other items that have cupids. She's got some cupid lamp stands and some cupids in some etched glass on some panels. So they fit in really well. The place this is going to be hanging is called the Apiary, and it's in a village called Castle Donington, home of Download and the Rock Festival. If you're ever in Castle Donington, visit the Apiary. It's a great little place. They have live entertainment on all weekend, and it's a really nice, friendly, cosy little place. And when I've done this painting, I've already actually been to the printers. I took it to a large format printers stroke sign maker and got them to print it off for me, and they're actually fitting it to the board stroke picture frame that it's going to be hanging on. And then I'm going to do a video showing you this in situ, so you will get to see exactly what it looks like when it's finished. What I'm doing here, I turn the lettering off, and I painted half the curtain, and at some point I will duplicate that and flip it over. There we go, save me having to paint it twice. A little bit lazy, but hey, this is digital. That's what we're doing it for. Save some time. I really pushed the effects in this a bit. Well, I say push the effects. I'm going to use the alpha layers, I'm going to use the alpha mask on the lettering to help distress that. But at the minute, I'm just feeling my way getting in the curtains. I did a Google search for some, I think I typed for curtain sway or something like that. to get the curtain effect I wanted. So you'll see here now that I'm starting to paint in the main characters, or the actual picture, I suppose, that's framed by the curtains and the cupids and the sway. And it is I guess it's sort of a burlesque Moulin Rouge type dancing scene. And I just rough in as silhouettes with sort of local colour all of the characters that I want to be in this painting. So I'm just sort of using a skin tone to get those in, and then I put some sort of feathers in the air, and I put a few legs kicking up. I lost them later on. I decided not to put them in, and I just sort of kept working on this, putting in a few highlights, refining it slightly. I think I got as far as doing this male character. I sort of got it in his shirt, and a little bit more on the lady that is holding her hand. And at that point, I had a rest and sat back and looked at it and sort of made a decision if it was going okay, if it was in the right direction, and did I like it. And I was happy with it, and I sent it off to the customer as a proof. Luckily enough, the message came back, because I sent it via email, and the message came back saying, "I love it, carry on." So I was no alterations, no amendments with the text or anything. Just really pleased with what I'd done, so I was enabled to carry on. And I'm using the oil brushes, so I'm exactly sort of the style that I've been developing in Procreate, where I use the oil brush and the turpentine brush, and my initial painting is all done with the turpentine brush. And now can you see I use the grunge brush. So I set the alpha mask on the text, so I'm only painting within the text, and I use the grunge brush to put some texture into the lettering, and then I set an overlay to, I think I set an overlay to multiply, and then I duplicated the text and put that under it, and just change the opacity just to lift the highlight of the lettering. And then I put on a layer mask, and you can see it's gone off the screen now, but you'll just see on the lettering that I'd sort of scrubbed away at the edges, as though the edges of the lettering had been rubbed away over the years, or faded. And then I'm into painting the faces. I kind of got a bit wrapped up in the detail of the faces, and I don't think I needed to. And you'll see here that I'm making use of the lettering, or you can't see it because I haven't done it. I'm sort of thinking ahead of myself. But what I was going to say was I bring the feet in front of the lettering, so the two main characters are almost stepping over the lettering. And now I'm painting some sausage fingers, and I needed to sort of sculpt them away and work on them a little bit. This is past the initial brief, I think. At this point, I'm sort of starting to now go in and put the detail in, because I know that she's happy with what I was doing. And I come up with this sort of really suede skirts that I use as a theme right the way across the painting, and it kind of made it very easy to seem to put in a lot of detail without really putting in a lot of detail. So you can see all the sort of underskirts and things wafting around as the dancers are jumping about the stage and shaking their legs about. and I'm sort of contouring the shadows there onto the leg to give it a little bit of form. Picking up the colour from the curtains, putting that into the leg as well, and the colour off the dress, sort of reflecting that onto the leg, so sort of balance it off. And there we go. So I had to create a new layer to put this foot in. So the initial main painting layer is below the lettering, and these feet are on another layer above the lettering. So it's important that I keep those two layers lined up. So I don't know if you're aware, if you want to resize a layer and you've got something underneath it that has got sort of relative information on it, you can swipe right and it will highlight more than one layer. Then whatever effect you do, say if you move the contents of one layer, it will move the other layer as well. So that's a really useful feature, because you can move the contents of multiple layers. I suppose you could put them in a group, but I tend not to do that. This image, by the way, is 100 dpi, 100 dots per inch. And you might think, well, that's nowhere near big enough for a print. But if you're going to a large format printers or a sign maker, as I did, they use these big format digital printers, and basically they process data at 100 dots per inch instead of 300, because I guess that the stuff that they print off, there could be a 40-foot trailer. They don't need that high res, and I have to say, looking at the print when it come off the printer, you wouldn't know it was 100 dots per inch. It really does look pin sharp, and it looked excellent. So I'm really pleased. I'm really looking forward to showing you this finished painting in situ, because I'm going to go to the apiary and take a picture of it hanging on the wall. I really want to share that with you. Anyway, getting back to this, I'm still sort of busy painting away. It took me about 2 days in total, I suppose, to do this, starting from the initial concept of setting out the text and putting it on a curve, and then painting it through to the finished thing. So it did take a good while. So I'm busy working on detail, sort of changing things as I'm going along, and I keep double checking stuff, sculpting away at the faces, put a bit of detail in, get that painted in. Then when I think I've got it right, I'll rub it out again, and you'll see that I start chopping away at the face in a minute. I think it's a bit too round. There we go, look, I sort of make it a bit more angular, a bit more pointed chin, start putting a few shadows in. And I'm playing fairly safe with the colours on the face. They're just sort of pretty bland skin tones. But as always, I will start to put splashes of colour in when I'm happy. And you'll see that I'm continually moving stuff around. And I'm chopping what I did there. I cut the ghosted images out of the people out of that layer that's on the same layer as the principal people, and put them in the layer behind, just so that I could paint them and not damage the main character. So the woman in the blue dress, you can see I'm painting the woman behind her, and I can do the hair and the hat and everything and the feathers, and not worry about having to keep retouching up the main figure. So I've got quite a few layers going off here. And although I put some faces in on maybe 2 more dancers, I leave a lot of them just sort of ghosted images. I didn't want the sort of busyness of faces all along of it. I wanted some that are left just sort of quite loose. And here I think I'm starting to think these cupids are bugging me, and I'm thinking I'm not happy with them. They don't look too good. I need to work on them a bit and put a bit more detail into it. And particularly the wings, I thought they don't look very feather-like. And I did do a Google search for Cupid wings or Cupids or something like that. And that gave me the idea of how I wanted to sort of give it that sort of feather look on the wing. And then, shock horror, I was talking to the client and they said, I think we should check the size of where this painting is going to go, the frame they've got. And they sent me some new measurements and they were nothing like the original ones. And not only were they a different size, they were a different aspect ratio. So I had to go in and change the old size of the painting. Now, if you're using Procreate, you know you cannot change the size of an image very easy. So I exported the old thing and then as a Photoshop file, I opened it up into Affinity Photo, resized it, or changed the canvas size actually, not because I wanted to keep the work that I'd already done the same size. So I changed the canvas size to the new dimensions, reopened it up in Procreate again, and then carried on. So, but it actually worked out better because I felt that the Cupids were really cramped at the edge of the frame, and it gave them a bit more space. Now you'll see here I'm painting a bee because the place is called the apiary, which is all you know, as you probably know, is a place where you keep bees. So I've done work for them before where they've had a sort of a bee theme. So we thought it'd be quite cool to put a couple of bees in the painting to sort of give it that stamp that really makes it belong to the apiary. And this is going to look absolutely fab because the decor they've done in the place is great. I can't wait to show it to you. But anyway, I'm going to hold fire until it's all finished. I don't want to spoil it. So again, I'm sort of adjusted I felt all the dancers were a little bit too far to the left, so I moved them to the right somewhat. And then I thought it needs a few highlights because the lights bouncing off the stage are going to light up the characters. They're going to light up the Cupids, the lettering. It just needs some highlights to make it pop a little bit. So I created a new layer on the top of the layer stack. I set the blend mode to add. And then I started painting in these highlights. You see I cheated a bit. I cut and pasted a face. But as I went on doing that, I pretty much painted the old faces again. So it is cheating a bit, I know. And I did it again, look. But I do change them so much that I think that it's okay. I think I got away with it. So sort of shuffling things around all the time, moving stuff. I'm loving the way I came up with the idea, the concept for the feathers in the hair and for the dresses, because it meant I could get a bulk of the painting to look as though it was done with an oil brush, really sort of loose, but add loads of detail without actually being any detail there. So I thought that was a nice trick that I came up with, and I was really chuffed with that. And you can see I'm putting in the sort of swirling dresses as well below the text. So I'm very happy with it. I'm not happy with the pink faces. I have to do something with that. But as you know, I like to mess about with colour and put colours where you probably wouldn't find them. So the pink on the faces are going to go in a bit. I sort of go in with a more purpley, soft purple, very light purple skin tone, and then I look for that a bit and I think, yeah, I'm not happy with that. And I'm going to hit it with some blue in a minute. I like doing highlights with quite a strong blue. Oh yeah, and I changed the eye colour. I thought they needed something just to make the eyes pop a little bit. And some of the eyes I made green and some I made blue. and I'm sort of concentrating quite a lot on the faces now, and I can sort of do a bit on them, then go away, work on the background characters a little bit more, come back, do some more on the faces, back to the characters again, or the background characters. And then I come up with the idea of doing these sort of almost ghostly faces in the background. There we go. So just an hint of an expression on the faces. And that's what I come up with. And I'm thinking, I like that. So that's what I did on all of the faces. In fact, I even get a bit crazy and I'm thinking, there's 3 faces together, and I'm thinking it's too much. It's sort of detracting. It's pulling you to them and taking away from the main characters. And here we go again. I start working on the face again. Still not happy with it. Still sort of just adjusting it and tweaking it and pushing it around. I have learned that I do not know a lot about, as considering I've painted a lot of portraits, I don't actually know a lot about making a face up out of thin air off the top of my head and just inventing something. So that's something I need to work on, I think. You can see now I'm starting putting highlights on the face where I'm thinking the lights will sort of be reflecting off them and to give it a bit more form. And then there's I start putting in the blue, which I really like that. I thought that sort of added something that really made the picture pop a bit. There we go. Blue highlights. Even went for it in the air. I started to think that the highlights I put in on the alpha layer were a bit too much in places, and I ended up erasing them and then going back in and putting them in much softer. Now that face, the one on the right there, I go absolutely crazy in a minute, and I just think, you know what, I don't need that. That's the face that is one too many. It's detracting. It's not adding anything to the painting. So I think it's going to have to go. Still tweaking stuff. I spent a lot of time tweaking stuff on this painting, really. There we go. And then I thought, right, just the top of the letters. Let's get some highlights on them. So I painted them in on the alpha layer, and then I softened them up with the blending brush. Once I've got them all painted in, you see I started to soften them. There we go. Just sort of cleaning them up and taking away any overlap onto the brown outline of the lettering. So this is something very different to what I normally do. I'm getting right close to the end of the video now. So, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me till the end. If you've enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I have lots more videos like this, and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.